A lot of candidates prepare for the CFA Level 1 exam the wrong way. Here's what they do. They watch the lectures, they read the study material, and repeat the same cycle again for all chapters. This feels productive, but here's a problem. Most of what you study starts disappearing from your memory very quickly, and this is explained by something called as the forgetting curve. The forgetting curve shows that when you learn something, your brain starts to forget that thing very rapidly. Within weeks, a large portion of what you learned can disappear unless you revisit it actively. This is exactly what happens to many CFA candidates. They spend all the time studying the chapters, they watch lectures and they read the material, but they do not actively revisit it. Now, the active revisit is done by practicing questions. So even though they study for many hours, they don't retain enough of it on the exam day. The solution to this is studying in a way that actively offsets the forgetting curve. In this video, I'll walk you through a 3-step framework that will help you offset the forgetting curve and clear your CFA Level 1 exam with confidence. So here's the simple 3-step framework. Step 1 is the process shift. Most candidates study like this. They watch a lecture, they read the notes, and initially they think that they're going to practice at the end of each chapter, but they defer it, let's say, to the end of the week or then the end of the month, and then they defer it altogether that once I go through all the chapters, then I'll start practicing questions. Here, what happens is when you do this, at the end of finishing the syllabus, when you start practice, you realize that you have forgotten most of the stuff that you learned. Most candidates fall into this trap of deferring practicing to the end. Watching the lecture and reading the notes, that feels very productive, but you have to understand that it is passive learning. It is not active learning. If you take practice out of it, it will always remain passive learning. So the biggest shift you need to make is that practice should come before and after you're studying. So here's how your first 3 to 4 months should look like. First, practice a few questions, then watch the lecture, then read the notes, and then practice more questions. Let's break this down. Now, why practice a few questions before even watching a lecture or reading anything? The goal is simply to expose your mind to what kind of questions are asked from this topic. You'll probably not be able to answer these questions at all, but reading those questions and trying to solve them, you'll have it in your mind what kind of questions are asked in the exam, and you'll end up paying more attention when you're watching a lecture or studying the notes. This makes learning much more active. Next, you can watch the lecture or you can skip this step altogether. A lot of candidates skip watching lectures and just read through the notes. If you prefer it, do it. If you don't, then you can skip it and directly go to reading notes. And if, let's say, you're unsure on some topic, then you can watch the lecture for that topic only. So when you're done with one chapter, then practice more questions on it, about 10 to 15 questions per chapter you have to practice after you study them. This is where the real learning happens. You begin to concretize those concepts into your head by practicing the questions. When you attempt the questions, you quickly discover whether you properly understood them or not. If you make mistakes, read those mistakes carefully. Every mistake you analyze and fix reduces the chances of you making the same mistake again. Over time, this process builds both memory and retention. A lot of candidates commit the mistake of practicing too few questions. As a result, they feel confident while studying, but they don't feel confident while giving the actual or the mock exams. Practice closes that gap. So remember the process. Practice a few questions, watch the lecture, read the notes, and practice more questions. Once you follow this consistently, studying becomes much more effective. Now comes step 2. Move through the entire syllabus without trying to attain perfection. Most candidates make this mistake of trying to master each and every chapter before they even finish the syllabus. Now, at the moment, it feels very productive, but what ends up happening is that you spend a lot of time covering the initial few chapters, so much so that at the end, for the remaining chapters, you don't have enough time. So then what you end up doing is rushing through the remaining chapters. This leads to uneven preparation. Some of the chapters are overstudied while rest are barely covered. So When you start preparing for level 1, your goal should be simple. Move through the entire syllabus once without trying to achieve perfection. You want to see every topic at least once so that you have a rough understanding of the entire curriculum. Don't worry if some concepts feel unclear. You can always master them later in the practice phase. At this stage, your goal is to be familiar with all the concepts. Once your brain has seen the full syllabus, future revisions become much easier. Think of it as building a mental map of the curriculum. You're not trying to master everything yet, but you're seeing what topics are there, what structure to follow, and by practicing before and after completing a chapter, you get a sense of what kind of questions are asked. But you should avoid trying to master every single detail. Mastery will come later through repetition, through practice, and mock exams. Now comes step 3, which is memory and retention. This step is entirely about practice. There are 3 types of practices that you should be doing. Number 1 is a weekly practice. Choose one day of the week based on your schedule. You'll spend this entire day practicing the questions. Now, whatever chapters you've completed, you'll be practicing about 3 to 5 questions from each chapter. You can practice these questions from the learning portal of the CFA Institute, or if you have any good quality question bank. And naturally, as you move forward, the number of chapters you've completed will increase, and so will the chapters you have to practice every single week. Now, when that happens, and if you're unable to manage the full load of so many questions, understand this, that as you practice every single week, the earlier chapters that you've covered, you'll be able to practice through them very quickly, while the newer chapters that you've covered, that's where you'll be applying most of your thinking and you'll take time to practice them. And 3 to 5 questions per chapter a week is just a guideline. If by the progressing weeks the number of questions you have to practice increases a lot, you can try reducing some of the questions that you're confident that these chapters I know very well and maybe I don't need to practice them. This weekly practice will continue while you're covering the entire syllabus in the first 3 to 4 months. Once the syllabus is complete, you don't have to do these weekly practice questions, because now, since the syllabus is complete, you'll be practicing every single day. So now comes the second type of practice questions that you'll be doing, which are the mock exams. Once you're done with your syllabus, I would recommend spend one day revising the entire syllabus. Go through the Schweizer notes or maybe the Schweizer quick sheet or any kind of personal notes that you've taken about the concepts that you have a difficulty in understanding. Go through the entire formula sheet and get a good grip on all of the chapters. And after doing this, the next day, give your first mock exam. Treat it as if you're giving the real exam. Try to mimic the timing of the real exam. Like if your actual exam is at 9 a.m., give your mock at 9 a.m. too. This will help you stay confident at the final exam day. So now after you're done with your first mock exam, analyze it religiously. Go through all the questions that you got correct and also, more importantly, all the questions that you got wrong. Read all the explanations, and in the questions that you got wrong, whether it was a silly mistake or was it a lack of understanding of the curriculum. If it was a silly mistake, then note it down and make sure the next time you practice or the next time you give a mock exam, don't repeat the silly mistakes. And if it was a lack of understanding of the curriculum, then if the explanation solves your gap, that's great. If not, then go to that part of the chapter again and read it through and understand it in a better way. Then comes the third type of practice that you'll be doing, which is the practice to improve upon the weak areas of your mock exams. Here's what you need to do. Once you're done analyzing your mock exam, give yourself a revision day again. Practice all questions from the areas that you found weak in your mock exam. And the next day or a few days after doing that, give a mock exam again and repeat the same process in analyzing that. Now, after you've given a few mock exams, you'll get a true picture of where you stand. And now all that you can do is improve upon your mocks and improve your score by working on your weak areas. Study them again, read them again, practice them, and that's how you improve your score and improve your chances of clearing the CFA Level 1 exam. So that's it. That was the 3-step framework. Let's do a quick summary. Step 1, process shift. It should be practice a few questions, watch the lecture, read the material, and then practice more questions. Step 2, Move through the syllabus quickly without trying to achieve perfection. Step 3. Practice and retention. The first type of practice questions are the weekly questions that you'll do every week while you cover the syllabus for the first 3 to 4 months. The second type of practice questions are the mock exams itself. And the third type of practice questions are the questions that you'll practice after analyzing your mocks, and the goal of these practice questions is to improve upon your weak areas. That's it guys. This framework will definitely help you clear your CFA Level 1 exam. If you have any questions, you can ask in the comments below.